I didn't know how cool this character was going to be, Mr. Hanks. I didn't think he was going to be so well dressed and have this really badass car. I just like the more we get into this film and the more I get into Mr. Hanks, the more I fall in love with him because the powers that be have just made this character so cool. As far as getting ready for like the fight scenes and stuff, we did lots and lots and lots and days of training with the stunt team. Yeah, so that's I think a lot of people would they think that I would be familiar with a lot of that stuff with my history in martial arts and with professional wrestling, but it's actually something that's so completely different. It's something that's still a learning process for me. What was really weird, almost a surreal thing was that they actually shut down the streets of Rome for us. And it was kind of the middle of the night and it looks like the streets are empty on film, but when you see people, they're up in their windows taking pictures. Actually, people all around are just so curious as to what's going on. But it's kind of crazy when you think that they shut down the streets of Rome for us to shoot a car chase scene. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of gives you a perspective of how major this is. The fight scene on the train is great for so many reasons, and for me in particular because Mr. Hinks is really, really strong in this fight scene, which is not. I mean, you just don't see it often. You haven't seen it, often in the complete history of James Bond. Is you don't really see James Bond getting his ass handed to him. It just doesn't happen. But and yeah, it does in this film. Yeah, so I think it is kind of an iconic thing for us to be fighting on a train to begin with, and then to also see James just launched around this around this train and through doors and through corridors and into tables and through bathroom walls. You just don't see that much. But this is, I think, this is probably, and I don't want to sound arrogant saying this, but I think this is probably the best fight scene there's ever been in a James Bond film, and I'm proud to be a part of it. And man, and the set builders, the poor guys, they had their work cut out for them because we tear this train apart. I mean, we destroy it, and that's and that's actually us. I mean, I go through walls. Daniel goes through walls. I mean, we really we kind of put ourselves on the line to get this fight scene done. And it translates on the film. It was a rough fight scene. Physically, it was very rough. It took a toll on us, but I guess at the end of the day, it all pays off and it shows on film. Yeah. I really got drawn back into to James Bond films because of Daniel. So having said that, I was a bit of a fanboy. Even the first time I met him, I was a little starstruck, and but to see that he was so down to earth, and you always know, you really get to know a guy when you work out with him and train with him and see what they're willing to do and what they're willing to put themselves through. And when you see a guy like Daniel Craig, who's a huge movie star, who's just willing to come to the training room and just train, just like a regular guy, just like an athlete, man, just come in there and train and do it over and over and over, and not ask for a break and not ask to sit down and not say, I'm tired, but he actually wants to be there and he wants to train. He wants to make sure this is done right. I mean, that just gives you a whole different, respect level for someone, especially a performer or Daniel, because he's at that level where, if he didn't want to be there, he doesn't have to be, but he just wants to, put in that extra effort to be there and make sure this is done right. So just have all the respect for him in the world.